They thought they buried you. They thought your silence meant surrender. But they forgot. Roots grow in the darkness. They laughed when you fell. They whispered when you struggled. They moved on as if you never existed, as if your story had ended the moment they counted you out. But they didn't understand the nature of power. Real power isn't loud. It doesn't beg to be noticed. It doesn't perform for the applause of the weak. It waits. It grows. It learns in the silence. And when the time comes, it rises. Not for recognition, not for approval, but because it was never meant to stay hidden. This is not a soft speech. This is not a gentle whisper of encouragement. This is a warning, a reckoning, a resurrection, because for too long you have allowed the world to dictate your worth. You have swallowed their doubts, their dismissals, their assumptions about who you are and what you can become. You have watched them build walls around your potential, crafting a prison out of their limited beliefs. And worst of all, you believed them. You let their words wrap around your soul like chains. You let their laughter echo inside your mind until it became your own. You let their underestimation sink into your bones until you too doubted what you were made of. But not anymore. This is your moment. The moment they realize they never should have doubted you. The moment their comfort in your supposed weakness shatters like glass. They thought you were finished. They thought your silence meant defeat. But what they didn't understand is that silence is the language of evolution. You were not broken. You were not lost. You were becoming something they could never comprehend. Every moment of darkness, every second of stillness was fuel. The rage they mistook for weakness, the pain they thought would break you, the failures they used to mock you, they were all feeding the fire that now refuses to be contained. They miscalculated. They assumed you would stay down, that you would disappear into nothingness, just another forgotten name, just another wasted story. But they failed to see the truth staring them in the face. You are not them. You do not break under pressure. You sharpen. You do not fade into irrelevance. You rise from the ashes. You do not seek their permission to exist. You were always meant to own your place in this world. But here's the real question. Do you realize it yet? Because it doesn't matter what they think anymore. Their opinions, their judgments, their expectations, they hold no power unless you hand it to them. It's not their underestimation that keeps you small. It's your belief in it. It's the voice in your head that still hesitates, still questions, still wonders if maybe, just maybe, they were right about you. But they weren't. And deep down, you know it. So now, what will you do? Will you continue to let their disbelief dictate your destiny? Will you continue to live as if your power is something that needs validation? Or will you stand up, step forward, and make them regret every single time they look down on you? Because make no mistake, the moment you decide, the moment you embrace what was always inside you, the moment you unleash the force they never saw coming, everything changes. And when it does, they won't be able to ignore you anymore. They will see, they will understand, they will know. They underestimated you. But that was their mistake, not yours. And now, it's time to make them remember your name. They counted you out before the fight even began. They spoke your defeat into existence before you ever had the chance to rise. Too weak, too late, too broken. They assigned you a role, a limitation, a fate that was never theirs to decide. And for a while, maybe even for too long, you let their words sink into your skin, burrow into your soul, and define who you believed yourself to be. You heard their whispers when you failed. You felt the weight of their expectations pressing down on you, suffocating every ounce of potential you once thought you had. They didn't just doubt you. They dismissed you, discarded you, erased you from the realm of possibility. To them, you were a cautionary tale, a name they would mention only to remind others of what not to become. And you started to believe them. That's the cruelest part. It wasn't their words that broke you. It was the way they wormed their way into your own voice, your own thoughts, your own inner dialogue. It wasn't just them telling you that you were nothing. It became you telling yourself the same damn lie. Maybe I'm not enough. Maybe I was never meant to make it. Maybe the world is right about me. The doubt crept in, slow but steady, sinking its claws into your ambition, your dreams, your fire. It was easier to accept their version of you than to fight against it. Easier to surrender than to claw your way back. And so, piece by piece, you started shrinking. You stopped taking up space. You made yourself smaller, quieter, easier to overlook, because that's what they wanted, wasn't it? Society is built to make you believe that mediocrity is safety, that standing out is dangerous, that chasing something greater is a foolish man's game, a battle you'll never win. They conditioned you to apologize for existing, to doubt your own instincts, to settle for scraps when you were meant for more. And then, one day, you reached the breaking point. That moment when the weight of it all became too much. When you stood at the edge, staring down into nothing, wondering if maybe this was it, if maybe they were right all along. That was the moment. the moment that should have been your end. But something happened. A flicker in the darkness, a whisper beneath the noise, a fire that refused to go out. Because even at your lowest, even when you were drowning in their doubt and your own, there was something inside you that they couldn't touch. A force that no amount of ridicule, no amount of dismissal, no amount of pain could extinguish. They didn't see it, but it was there. A storm was brewing in the silence. A reckoning was coming. They just didn't see it yet. They dragged you down, deeper than you ever thought you could go. They took everything, your confidence, your belief, your sense of self. They left you with nothing but the echoes of their laughter and the weight of your own failures pressing down on your chest. This wasn't just a setback. This was destruction, and for a while you thought maybe they had won. The nights stretched longer than they should have, and the days blurred into a fog of emptiness. The world moved on without you, doors slamming shut one after the other, opportunity turning to dust before you could even reach for it. You watched your own potential slip through your fingers like sand, and the worst part, no one cared, no one noticed. The ones who used to see you stopped looking, the ones who used to call your name forgot it. You faded into the background, a ghost of the person you once swore you'd become. Doubt became your closest companion. It whispered in your ear, poisoning every thought, convincing you that maybe this was just who you were. Maybe you were never meant for greatness. Maybe the fight wasn't worth it anymore. Maybe you were just one of the countless faces who tried and failed, another name lost in the void of forgotten ambition. And then there were the ones who relished in your suffering, the ones who never truly supported you in the first place. They watched your struggle not with pity, but with satisfaction. They smirked when you fell, reveled in your misfortune, used your pain as a punchline. They never wanted to see you rise. They wanted confirmation that you were never a threat to begin with. That's the cruel trick of rock bottom. It makes you believe that it's the end, that this is where your story stops, that there's no way back, no second act, no redemption waiting beyond the ruins. It tells you that you're done, that the fight is over, that the world has moved on, and so should you. But rock bottom is a liar, because there, in the deepest part of the abyss, something stirs, something ancient, something unbreakable, something they never saw coming. And though they may not see it yet, though you may not fully believe it yet, one truth remains. This is not where your story ends. They thought you were done. They mistook your silence for surrender, your stillness for weakness. But what they didn't know is that you were built for war. Because beneath the ruins, beneath the weight of failure and rejection, something still burned. A flame so small, so quiet that even you almost didn't notice it. But it was there. It had always been there. No matter how much they tried to bury you, no matter how much life tried to break you, there was a part of you that refused to die. Every moment of pain had been fuel. Every sleepless night, every betrayal, every whispered doubt. They weren't breaking you, they were building you. Every tear watered the roots of your comeback. Every scar became a map leading you back to your strength. And then, for the first time in a long time, you felt it. The shift, the realization. You were never weak. You were waiting, learning, becoming. The world had convinced you that struggle was failure, that pain was defeat. But now, you saw the truth. Struggle was preparation. Pain was the forge that sharpened your edges. They had thrown you into the fire to destroy you, but all they did was temper steel. And then the transformation began. Not loudly, not in some grand cinematic moment. No, it happened quietly, beneath the surface, where no one could see it. Your mind started to change before the world even knew what was coming. The doubts were still there, but they were no longer in control. The fear still whispered, but you stopped listening. The voices that once dictated your worth became background noise, fading into irrelevance. Your spirit sharpened, your resolve hardened. The weight that once crushed you became the foundation on which you rebuilt. And then you took the first step back. Not because the world suddenly believed in you, not because the circumstances changed, but because you decided. Because you chose, in the darkness, before the light ever returned, that you would rise. You didn't need permission, you didn't need validation, you didn't even need proof that success was possible. You only needed one thing, the decision. The moment you made it, everything shifted. They still didn't see it, they still thought you were finished, but they had no idea what was coming. The world still moved as if you didn't exist. They carried on, never looking back, never questioning whether the version of you they had written off was still buried in the past. They didn't know. They couldn't see it yet, but something was shifting. The tide was turning, and for the first time in a long time, you felt it too. Your first victory wasn't grand, it wasn't loud, it wasn't something that would make headlines or turn heads, but it was enough. A single moment where, for the first time in ages, you proved to yourself that you were not done. It was the first push-up after months of stagnation. The first decision made with clarity instead of fear. The first morning you woke up and didn't feel like a failure. It was small, almost insignificant in the eyes of the world, but to you, it was everything, because it meant you were moving again. And then the wins started stacking up. Tiny victories at first, waking up earlier, choosing discipline over distraction, replacing self-doubt with self-respect. Every action, every choice, every moment of resilience added up, brick by brick, forming the foundation of the person you were becoming. Clarity sharpened your mind, discipline strengthened your will, resilience became your nature. At first, the silence felt empty. The loneliness of your rise was heavy, almost unbearable. But then you realized this wasn't isolation. This was preparation. The solitude you once feared became your greatest weapon. No outside noise, no distractions, no need for approval or applause. Just you, your focus, and the work. The deep, relentless work of transformation. And still, they didn't see it. The ones who doubted you, the ones who laughed at your failures, the ones who never took you seriously. They were still speaking of you in past tense, still convinced you had faded into irrelevance. Their laughter still echoed in the distance. But what they didn't realize was that the version of you they mocked no longer existed. The person they dismissed had been replaced with something new, something unshakable, something unstoppable. They still didn't know. They had no idea what was coming, but their days were numbered. The reckoning was near. They see you again, but something is different. At first, they can't place it. They recognize your face, your name, the outline of the person they once dismissed. But something in the air has changed. It's the way you stand, the way you move, the way your presence alone commands attention. You don't have to say a word, something inside them already knows. And for the first time, they feel it. The shift, the warning, the storm that's about to break, the silence before the reckoning is deafening. They try to laugh, to pretend like nothing has changed, but the sound is forced, hollow. They sense it before they understand it. A tension in the air, a weight in their chest. The same person they underestimated now makes them uneasy, and they don't know why. Maybe it's the calm in your eyes, the steadiness in your voice, the way you don't need their approval or their doubt. And then it hits them. The shattered illusions fall like glass at their feet. They had it all wrong. They mistook your silence for surrender, your kindness for weakness, your struggle for failure. They thought they had broken you, thought they had buried you so deep you would never rise again. But they were mistaken. They didn't break you. You don't break. You evolve. They see it now. The strength, the certainty, the quiet, unshakable force that refuses to bow, refuses to yield, refuses to be anything less than unstoppable. You have become something they can no longer ignore, something undeniable. And in their eyes, for the first time, you see it, fear, because now they understand. They never should have doubted you. They never should have dismissed you, and now, whether they accept it or not, whether they try to rewrite the past or pretend they always knew, one truth remains. You are no longer the person they left behind, and there is no stopping you now. You don't need their validation anymore. You don't need their applause, their recognition, or their approval. You've already won, long before they ever noticed. Their realization came too late, their understanding irrelevant, because by the time they finally acknowledged your power, you had already stepped into it. Their opinions, noise. Their doubt, useless. You never needed them to believe in you. You only needed to believe in yourself. And now, standing in the aftermath of everything you've endured, you finally see it. The truth that was always waiting for you. You are not who you were. The version of yourself they thought they knew is gone, burned away in the fire of your own transformation. What remains is something unrecognizable, something stronger, sharper, unstoppable. You don't even recognize yourself in the best way possible. This is the power of controlled chaos. You have taken every ounce of darkness, every moment of suffering, every bit of rage they tried to use against you, and you have turned it into creation. You are not consumed by the fire, you wield it. You are not driven by anger, you command it. The pain that once threatened to break you is now the very thing that fuels your rise. You've harnessed it, controlled it, molded it into something unstoppable. And now the world reacts. Some look at you with admiration, others with fear. They can feel the energy shift, the difference in your presence. They know they can't treat you the way they once did. You are no longer someone to overlook, to belittle, to push aside. Some will celebrate you, others will resent you. But it doesn't matter. You don't care either way. Because their reactions do not define you, you define you. You've mastered your own story. The narrative is no longer theirs to write. The version of you they underestimated, that person no longer exists. Now, they watch in awe, left speechless by the force you have become. They were wrong about you, and now they know it. What happens next? That's up to you. The tables have turned, and you are no longer at the mercy of their judgments, their limits, or their expectations. You dictate the story now. The chapters ahead are yours to write. and there is no force on this earth strong enough to take the pen from your hands. This is not the end of your rise, it is only the beginning. The evolution never stops, the fire that forged you never fades. You don't reach a final peak and call it victory. You keep moving, you keep sharpening, you keep becoming. Because power isn't something you attain once, it's something you embody, something you refine with every breath, every step, every decision. And they will remember you. The ones who counted you out, the ones who laughed, the ones who wrote you off, they will not forget your name. Your story will be told, not as a tragedy, not as a cautionary tale, but as a warning, a testament to the force they never saw coming. They will whisper about the one they overlooked, the one they assumed would never make it, the one who defied everything they thought they knew. Let them underestimate you. Just once. That's all you need. That's all it ever takes. Because the moment they do, they seal their own fate. They set the stage for their own reckoning. And so here you stand, unshaken, unbreakable, undeniable. Not a mistake, not a footnote. You are the force they never saw coming. And now, the world will never forget. No more waiting, no more hesitation, no more standing in the shadows, watching, wondering, waiting for the right moment. The right moment is now. If you are still on the sidelines, if you are still holding back, if you are still questioning whether you are ready, stop, step forward, move, because the longer you wait, the more power you give to those who doubt you. And make no mistake, they will doubt you again. They will whisper, they will question, they will try to plant seeds of uncertainty in your mind. Let them. It won't change the outcome. They have doubted you before, and where did it get them? Watching, stunned, as you rose from the ashes of the version of yourself they thought would never survive. Their doubt is irrelevant. Their disbelief is powerless. It cannot stop you unless you allow it to. So what must you do now? Take everything. Take the pain. Take the rejection. Take the silence, the losses, the nights you thought you would make it. Take the doubt, theirs and yours, and use it. Let it be the fuel that propels you forward, the fire that burns away any trace of the person who once questioned their own worth. And hear these words until they are engraved in your soul. You were underestimated, but not anymore. They thought you were finished. They thought you would fade, but now, they will witness what happens when the overlooked refuses to be ignored. So go, show them who you are.